Oh, hello guys, welcome back. Had a very strange experience. So strange is a relative term. Uh, I tried all day to see what to do and try to pray and everything, and yes, I know I have the lovely VR imprint in my forehead. And I decided, well, I'm going into the VR Viking game, even if I can't play it, even if it's still broken. It is what it is. And I said, kind of like a final prayer to Loki that if he could, fix what was broken with the game and allow me to proceed, I felt like the gods, as silly as this sounds, with a VR game, were calling me to learn a lesson. Well, and behold, it worked. I got to steer my wagon and get attacked by giants and do all these other adventures. And at one point, Hugin Immunin landed on her cart, and I'm like, I know this is a scripted event. I know this game doesn't change, but it definitely resonated with, starting to work with Odin. And you go through all of this game. You go through leading your people through a giant attack. You go through seeing your father-in-law die, which he might be a son of a bitch, but he's a good leader. You go through leading your family through all these traps and puzzles underneath the royal tree. Only because your child is a whimsical child. She's skipping along on this log, well, one of the roots of the real tree, and you know how children are. And she falls in one of the streams. And your Valkyrie appears and says, you have to jump in and save her. And it's a scripted end. But even though I knew what the end was supposed to be, I did my damnedest to save that child, and I lost her. She drowned. And your whole family is crying. Remember, your experiences in VR, they're coming up to you and they're crying. And they're asking you if you saved her. Please tell me you saved her. And you had to watch her drown, which is the lovely, life-affirming part. And you're so torn because she had just run to you like 5 minutes ago, game-wise, and hugged you. Because she's your daughter and she loves you. And you lose your daughter. And she dies. And, I was so angry. I wanted to scream at the gods. I knew it was a game, but I wanted to scream at the gods about why did we go through all that suffering just to get here, just to lose my father-in-law, just to lose my daughter, just to lose everyone, and to just have a tiny band of people left. And we have no food and no shelter. And the game ends abruptly. You lose your daughter, and your wife comes over and screams at you, and everybody sobs, and you know you failed. You failed your family, you failed your clan, you failed everyone. And I thought that's so cosmically unfair. We had reached a test of the gods. We had passed the test of the gods. We had done everything the gods asked of us. And they still took away my daughter. They still destroyed everyone. And I thought, well, one, it's just a video game. But two, where's the meaning of that? Because there were a lot of threads in this game that just don't go anywhere. Like, there's the Cirrus, and she sees things like mistletoe and stuff like that, and I'm like, uh-oh. Let me guess who's the god behind this one. And it's never really answered. There's a giant attack, and one of the leaders has betrayed the people and is probably working to antagonize the giants. Nobody knows why, because the game ends really abruptly. But I thought, where's the lesson in that? I knew it was Odin. And keep in mind, again, I'm saying I know this is a scripted game, just like people will get a message out of a book or a message out of a movie. And it was definitely Odin saying, set everything everyone else says aside. Don't worry about everything else. If you lose absolutely everything in your life, your family, your friends, your tribe, the gods will still be with us. We tend to have happy Sunny Valley Farm paganism sometimes. You know what I mean? Oh, the gods will never abandon you, and then they do, and you're going around the internet, what did I do to piss my god off? And what makes things worse is that when a god does abandon you and move away or do whatever, other people run over and they're like, oh, I'm putting salt in the wounds because the god's still talking to me. And then he doesn't, and they're devastated. And I knew that, as weird as it sounds, and again, I realized this was a VR experience, I wouldn't have had the bravery and fortitude to go on if I hadn't been working with Odin. As strange as that sounds, had I just been working with Loki, I would have noped the hell out of there and those people would have been on their own. I would have run away. I wouldn't have stood to fight. Odin inspires you to stand to fight. It's not that you don't feel fear. It's that you push past it. And there were a lot of pretty terrifying moments in this game, and you don't understand until you have the helmet on your head. And I died a bunch of times in this game because I wasn't skilled at certain things, but Odin can give us the bravery to go through the difficult parts of our life, the not so nice parts of our life. I think we do the gods a disservice when we big up one of the gods and we make that god sound like they can do absolutely everything for everyone, and then somebody runs into a problem with them and they can't work with them. And then we play blame the victim, right? We go, well, I can work with that god, must be you. And then the god abandons us, or moves away, or backs off, or whatever you want to call it. And then we're not so proud. I've felt Loki doing this transition for a couple of years. And Odin's the one that will come in and step up. Loki, how can I say this? Loki can be a different god for different people. For some people, he will get them through really hard times, but I had to face the brutal truth. Again, that's another one of Odin's traits. I was kind of pissed off at all the Norse gods, because I thought, you know, as I was going through losing my father for over a decade, with cancer and everything else, I worked with a Voodoo Loa. Where were the Norse gods then? When I lost my mother, La Santissima showed up. Where were the Norse gods then? Seems to me the Norse gods only got really serious after everything settled down and then just waltzed in and expected to take over. Odin will be the first one to point that out. He's like, isn't that funny? When your father died, where was Loki? When your mother died, where was Loki? Where were any of us, but where was Loki? And so I think Loki depends on us to have a selective memory. And I know the gods will, of course, try to say stuff, and they've tried it in the past, that was always us all this time. And I'm thinking, it doesn't make any rational sense at all that they would go out of their way to pretend to be Voodoo Loa or La Santa or something else. It doesn't make any remote sense whatsoever. Maybe the gods have this cosmic plan, and before you were born, they chose who you would go through. You know, you would start here, and maybe you would go here, and you would go there. I don't know. We're kind of a wandering people. But I do know that, in my experience, when a god or goddess has lost interest, they lose interest, you can't get it back. I've talked to people before, and it's a hard thing for us to go through. But there will be periods in our time where gods lose interest in us, and then when you can't, you could do everything you want to do. You could have all the altars, all the ceremonies, everything. They'll just start, stop answering you. So it's not a pleasant truth, but it's one we have to face as pagans, because the Odin books tell like it is. They're like, yeah, Odin's tough, he's a son of a bitch, and guess what? He may abandon you one day. You'll wake up and there will be no Odin. Hope you're resourceful. And at first I didn't like that, but then after you get over the shock of that, I thought, alright. It was definitely the message of this game, that the gods wanted to see if we were strong enough and smart enough to make it through. But just because we proved ourselves didn't mean we won magical princess points and everything was going to be okay. I lost my daughter after proving myself to the gods. And I'm like, that sounds about right. That sounds exactly right. Nobody came down in a chariot and saved us. Everything went bad. And of course there's that one apologist in the group. Oh, the gods have some kind of plan. We shouldn't judge the gods. Bullshit. Where the fuck were the gods in this game? Nobody came down to save us. Oh, Odin sent 2 ravens, maybe. I was like, I'm so pissed at the gods right now. Where are you? Come fight me. So I think it was Odin's way of making me acknowledge that sometimes life isn't fair. That sometimes you have to lose everything and you have to get up and you have to keep going on. And everybody around you is going to, as he's often told me, when you get to be leader, you get to be the bastard nobody likes. You have to go on. And there will always be the people that scream and cry and say, no, you can't ever go on, but you have to. I was open and receptive to Loki all day. Did he bother to show up? No. I did say that prayer is kind of a way of showing, yeah, I still have faith in you, but it's not there. He did turn his own lights on today, like I said, unless I'm getting Alzheimer's ready, but it's not there. All the signs I'm getting from are Odin. All the dreams I'm having are Odin, and it's not just that I'm over paying attention to Odin. Any god can come into your dreams and talk to you. Loki's been pulling away, like I said, for a while. And I'm not mad at him. That's in his nature. That's in the nature of any god to pull away. Lysandra was with me. I thought she'd be with me forever. Where is she? The Wodan Loa were with me. I thought they'd be with me forever. Where are they? We can't explain the actions of the gods, and anyone that says I can is lying. Right now I have Odin, and I'm very fortunate to have Odin. The other gods seem to feel kind of miserable. And I talked to them, and I said, you know, I would like to live in a Fluff-a-Bunny world where we can work with all the gods, and Loki's our bestie forever. But I said, you know, he can be the hero when he wants to be, but sometimes he doesn't want to be. And I don't think I should be ashamed or sorry or crying into my beer because Loki left. He may be back in a week and want all the attention and all eyes on him, but I was starting to get more and more frustrated too because I was going through really hard times, and Odin's been the one to step up. Odin's been the one to say, okay, I know this hurts, but you guys suck it up and make it through. And you will feel you're going through on your own power, but you'll also feel that Odin's watching over you, and it's gonna be okay. It's gonna hurt like a son of a bitch, but it's gonna be okay. Where it feels the more and more heavy stuff gets, the less and less Loki wants to be involved. And that's just my personal experience. And just because you haven't experienced it yet or never will, doesn't mean it didn't happen to me. So, you know, I honored the Old Father today. I did a ritual for him today. I did his honor, and I said, I just need to be led in the right direction because I want Odin's will to be done, obviously, and I want to honor the gods. And I said, if you want me to work with Loki, whether or not I feel very much towards him right now, I'll do what the All-Father says to do. And I'm getting this idea from the gods that I think Loki walked away. And the gods are just like, you're unbelievably calm about all this. There's no reason for me to cry. I got an upgrade so far as I'm concerned. Odin's a son of a bitch, but he tends to show up when it's really brass tacks, when it's really hard. And I was kind of amused because I was looking through all the stuff on the interwebs today, and everybody's like, oh, if you wear that symbol, that's the take you out anytime symbol, and Odin's guaranteed to kill you. And I'm like, yeah, come to think of it, 2 ravens landed by this little girl in the game, and guess what happened to that little girl about 15 minutes later? She got to go to Valhalla to see Odin personally. I'm like, you know what? It's okay, because in a way, I'm more relaxed about things if, you know, if this is true, if Odin's going to take me out anytime. Any god could do that, but if Odin's going to take me out anytime, so what? There's nothing I can do about it. It's like any other god or goddess I've worked with. All of them have the ability to kill us. They could all take us out at any time. Most choose not to. Odin has a scary reputation. He terrifies the shit out of most people, and that's usually the gods I have the best experience with. So, you know, I'm not anti-Loki, I'm not antagonistic. I think he just walked as far as he could, because now, as I'm working more with Odin, it's not like Loki's suddenly the enemy. He's not. It's just Odin pushes you and drives you to be the best you can possibly be and to find out things and to do things the right way, and to not just get emotional and cry because something isn't the way you thought it was. And that's hard, and that's not very fluffy and fun, but it's also a very practical way to handle tough times. If he's getting me up and pushing me to do stuff, I know that there's a reason he's doing it. Sometimes it feels almost like combat training because he's like, okay, you got 2 hours of sleep, let's go, princess. And sometimes it feels like it's for some other deeper reason, but I trust Odin. I trust Odin. With Loki, you can't tell. Loki has that charming rock star persona where he can charm you and you can work with him, but I have to be brutally honest and look back and think he can be helpful when it suits his purposes. I'm not saying he's, the most terrible god in existence, even though Jotun doesn't exactly translate to giant, but they're a rival family. And people would go, well, the Allfather's half god, half Jotun himself. That's true, but that's kind of like a balance where, with a member of the rival family, I never knew how he felt about that. And somebody had said, well, if you're not, trusting Loki, or you're not getting from Loki, or you letting outside people control you? It's been Loki. It's been Loki being horrified that I'm getting older and I can't do what I did when I was in my 20s, and it's been Loki. He really doesn't deal with age, in my experience. He doesn't deal with death. He doesn't deal with illness. He doesn't deal with any of these things very well. He can, unexpectedly, from time to time, do great. And he can also be walking out of the room and not want to deal with it. He's a complicated god, if we're going to use the term god. And he inspires fierce loyalty, but not the same kind Odin does. People become fiercely loyal to Loki, at least I did, because there's something about him, and he can charm you into it, where you become fiercely loyal to Odin because he's a good leader. It doesn't mean he's not a son of a bitch and he hasn't done terrible things, but he's a good leader. And you realize that, sometimes the leader has to be a son of a bitch and do terrible things. Every terrible thing he's done is either, well, honestly been for Odin, but also been for the good of the people, Sometimes when you're the leader, as he told me, and I think I mentioned, you have to be the bastard nobody likes because you have to make the hard decisions. And since he's been pointing that out, I think he's like, the decision you have to make. Now, if Loki would appear in a dream, or Loki would appear in meditation, or Loki would send me some kind of sign, that would be different, but I don't think I'm entertaining to him anymore. I think my entertainment value ceased. He was getting bored and moody and restless for a couple years. This isn't just something that he came up with today. This isn't just something that happened today. This has been going on for a couple years. So, I'll still have a channel. If he does show up again, I will talk about him, but it feels like Elvis has left the building. His altar lights are still on. I'll probably light them for, say, a month or so. He's welcome. He knows he's welcome, and he knows he's still loved. It's just that Odin clearly feels I need a leader in the leadership position, and I need someone to guide me. And Loki, for whatever divine reason he has, he doesn't want to do that. And that's entirely up to him. I can't scruff him like a kitten and say, you have to lead me, you're my patron. Like I said, my experience, it's not fair, but sometimes gods learn words, get them certain things, and they will pick them up and not mean them. Not always, not always. Usually if you're told you have a patron or whatever else to describe it as, you can trust them. But sometimes, for their own reasons, they'll turn around like a rattlesnake and bite you too. That's something to think about. So if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.